Hello and welcome to today's Worksite Wellness Lunch and Learn. We're so glad you could join us. Today, Katie Godin from Lifestyle Medical Center will discuss immunity boosting foods and other strategies for staying well this holiday season and all year long. With countless holiday gatherings to attend and an increase in travel, there's a good chance we're crossing paths with more germs than usual this time of year. Your work to prevent illness can go far beyond frequent hand washing, and Katie is here to tell us how. Plus, she'll share a sweet potato nacho recipe that includes many nutrients that support immune health. Katie has been practicing as a registered dietitian for 17 years. She focuses on helping individuals improve their knowledge and relationship with food and meet their personal health goals. Lifestyle Medical Center is an in-network nutrition counseling service. For employees enrolled in the state health plan, both virtual and in-person visits are covered at 100% for in-network providers. The state health plan has in-network dietitians across the state. To find one near you, log into your state health plan portal using the link listed on this slide. As a reminder, everyone who registered for this event will receive a recording of today's presentation as well as the recipe. To find past Lunch and Learn recordings, visit our website at oshr.nc.gov/wellness-webinars. During the presentation, you can submit questions through the Q&A, and members of our NC Flex team will help answer them. Additionally, Katie will save a few minutes at the end of the presentation for any questions we're unable to get to. Now, let's lunch and learn.
Thanks, Sierra. Hey, everybody. Welcome to December. I can't believe it. It's really hard to believe, and it actually has felt like it over the past week or so. Getting us into the mood for the holiday season, and this was such a timely topic with just as Sierra mentioned, with extra travel, being indoors a lot, being exposed to more germs, all of those things. It's kind of nice to review what some immunity boosting foods are, and we'll talk about some other lifestyle strategies that are important to consider in addition to how we nourish our bodies. So let's get started. As Sierra mentioned, I have been a dietitian at Lifestyle Medical Centers, or I am currently a dietitian at Lifestyle Medical Centers. I've been there for about 8 years. I've been a dietitian for over 17 now, and I love helping people reach their health goals, help them navigate challenges, and give them lots of motivation. So don't wait till the new year. I know there's only a few weeks left, and sometimes this can be a bit of a slump for people. They think, why not just push it off into the new year? Why wait, is what I like to tell people. If you've been thinking about it, whether you choose lifestyle or somewhere else, I think just kind of navigating these challenges and kind of taking control of your health, there's no better time to just get started. So don't wait. And we would love to have you. Okay. All right. So we're going to first talk through just some general info here. How does a balanced diet support your immune system? So it's really important to have lots of essential nutrients from food. These are helping to provide those building blocks for the immune cells that are help protecting us from these viruses, from these illnesses, and keeping us really nice and strong in that healthy way. So having lots of variety in your diet is something we talk about a ton. And, we're going to go over immune boosting foods, but really just in general, and we're going to go over some really specific nutrients here, but really just in general, it's just adding lots of color to your plate. I tell people that all of the time. We've talked about the plate method a lot. I've shown you guys lots of visuals when it comes to that. We don't have to make it so complicated. The last thing that I want you guys to do is leave here today thinking, oh gosh, so now I have to tally up my vitamin A and my vitamin C and my vitamin. It's not about that. It's about making sure to include a variety of these types of foods on a regular basis so that we're not micromanaging every step, but we're really just trying to float these foods in and out. So another way that a balanced diet can help support our immune system is how it impacts how healthy foods, especially healthy fibers, probiotics, we'll talk about that throughout the presentation today, aids with our gut health. 70% of our immune cells live inside of our gut. So it's really important that we're focused in on a healthy gut. And again, a healthy gut is really just keying in on a variety of nutrients, lots of fruits and veggies, lots of good, nourishing fibrous foods. And like I said, those prebiotics, probiotics, which I'll kind of talk to you through later in the presentation. That healthy, balanced diet is going to help reduce inflammation, which in turn can help the body resist and recover from illness also. So we've got a lot of benefits here to getting these nice, lovely, healthy nutrients floating in and out of our diet. But lots of research has been done on some of these top immune supporting nutrients. So we're going to talk about these individually. I'm going to give you examples and some helpful tips in order to help get these into your diet throughout this season and all year long. So vitamin C specifically is an antioxidant. And its role, one of its roles is for the immune side of things, is to support the production of white blood cells, which are our immune fighting cells that we want to have working for us. And so vitamin C is very powerful for that. Vitamin D can help regulate that immune response. Vitamin A helps to protect something called the mucosal barrier, which is basically some protective layers of the cells. Vitamin E can strengthen those cell membranes, which is key for that ability to detect threats. And that side of things is strengthened when we are consuming those vitamin E rich foods. Zinc is essential for immune cell growth. And then you've got selenium, helps with that antioxidant support. Protein can help build those antibodies, which help to fight infections. And then we've got omega-3 fatty acids, which help to reduce inflammation. So a lot of words, a lot of terms, a lot of things going on in this slide, but essentially what you want to know is that these are some of those really top contenders that are helping to protect you, especially when you're most vulnerable to developing viruses and things like that throughout this season. Let's talk about vitamin C first. So you are probably aware of what some foods are that have vitamin C. I have some pictures here so I can kind of show you guys some examples, and then I have further things listed. Citrus fruits, kiwi, peppers, and berries are kind of some of the top vitamin C rich foods. I love, love, love roasted peppers, and it's super simple to do, you guys. I like to get those mini peppers and chop them up maybe 1, 2 times. That's it. So there's not a lot of work involved. They have barely any seeds in them. And then just drizzle a little olive oil. If you want to sprinkle a little salt, little pepper, throw them in a pan, pop them in an oven at 400 degrees, 20 minutes, and they're perfect. And they're so nice, have such a lovely flavor. I love the texture, and they're great to pair with lots of different things, whether it's a side item or you mix it into a salad or you mix it into a grain bowl. Really, you can do a lot. So I love those peppers. Another tip here that I've put is obviously berries are not necessarily as much in season this time of year, but frozen berries are great to have on hand. I always keep a bag in their freezer that I can do to add to a smoothie or some type of protein shake, or maybe I even throw them into some warm oats and they kind of thaw. So just a tip there to help get more of that vitamin C in. Then we have vitamin D. So vitamin D can be tricky to get into our diet due to kind of limited amounts that you're getting from certain foods. Sometimes people aren't taking in some of the top food sources here that I've listed. As you can see, sunshine is one of the best ways to get vitamin D in. Sun isn't as strong this time of year, and we're also not out in it as much this time of year. So really encourage you to talk to your providers if you think you might need a supplementation. You might not need a higher dose, but sometimes just a little bit, 1,000 IUs, for example, can be in just a standard multivitamin. Something like that can be really helpful for you to take during these winter months when maybe we're not getting outside as much, we're not getting as much of that sunshine. You can, of course, focus in on some of these fortified products like eggs, some fortified milk products. Salmon is a really good source. So, but if you don't feel like you get a lot in your diet, then I definitely encourage you to have that conversation with someone in your healthcare team about if a supplement would be ideal for you. Zinc. So one of the best things that you can get as far as zinc is oysters. Not that we're all out eating oysters all of the time. A, they're kind of expensive. I do like them. Side note, they're very delicious. Me and my husband will splurge and have that here and there if we go out to eat, which is very rare. So we kind of feel like it's okay here and there. But if you're not an oyster fan, some other things to include in your diet are beans, nuts and seeds, whole grains, meat. One plant-based way of getting in your zinc I've listed here is to mix a variety of nuts and seeds together. So pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, cashews. You can throw in a little bit of hemp seeds. You can throw in some other type of nut that you would enjoy if it's not listed here. Make a couple little snack bags and then grab and go. Keep them in your car. They're great for just a quick portable zinc-rich snack. So that's something that I love to include almost on a daily basis, is including nuts and seeds. It's very simple too. Lots of other ways you can include those nuts and seeds as well. For topping for an oatmeal, for putting on a salad. Those are great ways, and just really having by themselves with maybe a little bit of fruit. I like to do that too, or dark chocolate. All right. Next, we have vitamin A, which is something that we'll be featuring today with those sweet potatoes. Something that I did all last week, which I loved, was I roasted some sweet potatoes, very similar to what we're doing today. And I added them to a salad, as you will see in this picture. And it was lovely. I actually added a little bit of green beans to my salad too, which that might be what that is on the little picture there. So I love adding those types of veggies to a salad in the winter. So it feels a bit more hearty. It feels a bit more rich. I like them either warm or cold. It really is dependent on what you're in the mood for. Some other good vitamin A rich foods would be those carrots and then some leafy greens. So great salad components there. And you can obviously have these nutrients and these foods lots of different ways. So, and I'm really excited to share how I like to eat sweet potatoes this time of year with kind of a favorite with those nachos. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. Selenium. So selenium you can get through things like tuna, Brazil nuts specifically, and some whole grains. So I've kind of featured here a very simple tuna salad sandwich. So one thing that I have encouraged people to do is try mixing in avocado or even a holy guacamole. I'll do that sometimes too, so that it's a single serve, and I'll take, a small maybe can of tuna with that holy guac and mix it together. It makes a great tuna salad, whether I add it to a wrap, have it on a sandwich, put it with some crackers and some veggies, or even just have it by itself like that for a high protein snack in the middle of the day. This can be really helpful also if you're thinking of tuna, if you need a little additional protein throughout your day. That would be a great thing to have kind of middle of the day as a snack, easy, just a few crackers. It's a nice healthy protein burst to kind of help push you through some of that end of day hunger and slump that can exist. Omega-3s. So you probably have heard me talk about omega-3s. We can talk about these a lot in sessions too. One of the best things that you can get when you're thinking of getting omega-3s in your diet is salmon, tuna, and then also plant-based sources, including walnuts and chia seeds. So I wanted to include my favorite recipe when it comes to salmon. I've actually featured this, but it's been a while. So, but if you go back into the archive, you probably will see that maybe even like 2 or 3 years back. So I wanted to include that again in case you haven't thought about it in a while, or maybe some of you have never seen it. But this is one of my very, very favorite ways of eating salmon. And it is so simple to make. I think sometimes we can get a little intimidated by cooking fish, salmon. Maybe we just have done salmon specifically one way and we just don't like the flavor of it. I really encourage you to try fish, salmon, and dishes in general that maybe you've kind of turned your nose to and you don't think you really like, try it in a different way. So this is something that I think my entire family actually likes it, including the kids, which I'm always is a win when the kids will eat something like this, right? All right. Protein. So protein is important for lots of things, but it can really help for your immunity this time of year. So getting in those lean meats, eggs, legumes, plant-based sources of protein included as well. This recipe I have made a couple of times. I don't know that I've demonstrated it. I do other demonstrations, and sometimes these recipes just run through my head, and I can't remember if I've done it for this particular uh, demo before, but it's absolutely lovely. It is a lentil vegetable soup, and it's great anti-inflammatory, lots of veggies, lots of plant-based protein, 17 grams of plant-based protein in this particular recipe. So, okay. Let's talk briefly about the importance of gut health. So, as I mentioned before, 70% of your immune cells reside in the digestive tract. So, that healthy gut microbiome does boost your immune response. Um, I'm really sorry, you guys, but someone is ringing my doorbell and no one is coming to get it, and it's distracting. I'm just going to make sure that no one needs to come in. I really apologize. Okay. It's being taken care of. So sorry, guys. And there goes my dog. You guys know, maybe with your, Wake County, schools are closed today. So I've got kids and dogs and all the things. So I really apologize. Okay. So that healthy gut microbiome does boost that immune response, and foods that help are going to be probiotics and prebiotics. Lots of good fiber too. So I've mentioned that kind of throughout fruits, veggies, that type of thing. But when it comes to, I'm so sorry. Hold on one second. Sorry. So sorry, guys. Really, truly. Okay, so prebiotics, some really good food sources for that is going to be live bacteria. So this helps those probiotics that you're eating, like the yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. That's going to really help these live bacteria thrive. So prebiotics are really, really important because they are such a good food source for those probiotics. So we need both. We've talked about in the past supplements with probiotics. I really don't think everyone needs to be on a probiotic supplement, if I'm being quite honest. I feel like food sources are going to be the best. But again, kind of like with that vitamin D, also with omega-3, which I didn't talk about, but any of these nutrients where you feel like you're not able to get them into your diet in a regular way, supplementation could be helpful for you. But I do always encourage you to have that conversation with your healthcare provider just to make sure there's really no contraindications for you taking some of these supplements in general. Helpful tip. So kefir, which is a fermented milk, it's kind of like a really good smoothie base, in my opinion. There's flavors, so you could add that into your smoothie. It is a little sour, so just FYI if you've never had it, but you don't need a whole lot. I think just like a little quarter cup of that, you can mix it with other milk, and then making sure to I love to have fresh garlic and onion around this time of year. I just keep it ready to go. It's so easy to just chop up an onion really quick, little squeeze of some garlic, minced garlic into the pan, and you can add it to anything. And that's a great way to get in both prebiotics and probiotics. Okay. Let's talk about hydration's role. So water is really important. And I have had quite a bit of people tell me, which I think is interesting, and also I can understand it, is that when it gets cold outside, they don't really want cold water. They feel like, and I do encourage you to have other beverages, maybe some hot tea, maybe things like that around. But having water is going to be really essential this time of year because of how it does help to transport nutrients, remove toxins, moistens those mucous membranes, which we had talked about earlier, which is that first line of response. We want those to be nice and healthy and strong. In general, I would tell someone to aim for maybe between 6 to 8 glasses of that water daily. Needs do vary. This is a very, very basic recommendation. Needs vary based on the individual and the activity level. So this is always a good side conversation to have in one of your sessions. If you're doing a session with one of your dietitians, this is something that we can kind of troubleshoot, tailor towards you. One of my biggest tips when it comes to just getting water in is to make sure that you have it around all of the time. Keep it around. I love to keep my water bottle handy. Decide what size water bottle, what vessel works best for you. And I think there's a lot of different things that we can do in order to help us to drink more. It could be smaller cups. Sometimes now, look, I showed you my water bottle. I love a water bottle. It's great because it's easy to take with us. But when I'm at home, sometimes I want a smaller cup around. I find that my bigger water bottle might be a little overwhelming to me that day. So I kind of feel out where I'm at with my motivation to drink. Smaller cups, I see myself working through a little bit more quickly. It feels motivating. And so that's just one thing to kind of keep in mind. But again, another tip here is that warm soups and broths do count towards your fluid intake in the winter months. So we do a lot more soup eating when it comes to this time of year. So that is going to be liquid, that is going to be fluid, and that will count, as well as those fruits and veggies that you eat. We talked about that many presentations ago, I think, with the fact that these nice hydrating foods from fruits and vegetables are counting towards our hydration status. So another reason to be including those a little bit more this time of year as well. I just thought I'd throw together something very basic, you guys, just this quick immune boosting meal plan, just to give you an example. It's lots of foods that you probably float in and out of your day anyway, but I think we're just trying to be a little bit more intentional about maybe certain things that we aren't getting enough of. So maybe if you leave the presentation today thinking, okay, I don't think that I'm getting a lot of those prebiotics, the prebiotic fiber. Maybe I'm going to do a little bit of digging into some good foods that would be helpful. That's something that we can talk about either, together. You can explore on your own. But so, yeah, I think it's about looking at the big picture. What are some things that you feel like you might be missing? But for example, breakfast, we could have some oatmeal with berries, sprinkle a little bit of chia seeds in there, and then maybe have some yogurt on the side. For lunch, we could do something like a quinoa salad with vegetables. I'm so sorry, you guys. That's my youngest. That's Dylan. Um, okay, with chickpeas and some olive oil. And then for a snack, we could do something like an orange, handful of nuts, like I mentioned earlier. And then for dinner, that salmon, we could do steamed veggies, brown rice. This is all very, very simple, very easy. Ideas wise, it doesn't have to be too complicated. I think we just have to kind of have it on our brain, think about it. And then again, that hydration. What are we going to have in the mix for fluids that day? Do we want to switch it up, have some green tea, have some, something kind of mixed into our water, maybe some fresh squeezed lemon and lime to make it more enjoyable. So, but again, thinking about it is going to be ideal. Having a plan, that's where it all needs to start. So, hopefully this can kind of give you just a general idea of some structure. All right, so we also want to focus in on some other lifestyle factors. Food is very important, but we want to include other things because they also are very supportive of our immune health this time of year. So sleep in particular, so adequate sleep is going to help with the production of those key immune fighting cells. And so we want to strive for around 7 to 9 hours a night. And listen, I know sleep is very complicated for a lot of people for many different reasons. And it's not always something you feel like you have a lot of control over. So, one thing that I have people kind of just tap into is, what do I have control over? Is it going to be trying to not have as many screens before bed? Is it going to be setting a little like bedtime reminder timer so that it makes it so that we can get to bed a little bit earlier? Those types of things are things we have control over. And then this is a great conversation to have with your provider. Is there something that you don't realize that's going on that could be affecting your sleep that maybe a provider could help you with? Have people explore that because sleep is so, so, so important. Um, Okay. And then let's see, stress management, which I know is also one of those things sometimes we feel like we don't have control over, especially around maybe holidays, this time of year. I know it can be shifts in moods and things like that throughout those winter months. So it's really important to have some stress management tools and skills that you are using throughout your day. Things like breathing techniques, which we have lots of suggestions when it comes to that, practices like yoga, stretching, and just generally making time for self care. So, what can happen is over time, some of that chronic stress that builds up does suppress that immune function. And so, we are more susceptible to those illnesses when we aren't kind of taking a little bit of time to address, assess, and try to understand some of what is causing that stress in our life. And then physical activity. So physical activity is great. It helps decrease inflammation. It helps circulate those immune cells. And physical activity is connected to that stress management side of things too. So one thing that I have been talking to people, which you'll see that little tip there at the bottom, is working in just some small movements throughout your day. And I've written here 5 to 10 minutes, but I've honestly been talking to people about just doing 1 to 2 minutes of something, maybe every hour or so, so that we're just thinking of these small movements throughout our day to break up sitting, something that we tend to do a lot anyway during the workday, but we definitely want to sit more during these winter months because we're inside and we want to be cozy and we don't want to be walking around and doing a lot in the cold. So I think getting creative with our movement, that's something that I'm really trying to lean in with to people, encourage people to just understand doesn't have to be getting to the gym or being outdoors. There's something that maybe we could find for you to do and multitask while you're at work, while you're at home. I have included a little link here. Maybe you've heard that term deskercise, but this is something that had developed, as methods for you to do movement while you're actually at work. And so it's really kind of interesting, some of the movements, and I've given some examples within that link. So try it out, see how you like it, and always, always, be mindful of what works well for your body. So I am not a exercise physiologist, and I don't have that in my background. So some of these ideas are merely suggestions. We actually do have an exercise physiologist on our team now. So that's kind of a fun fact if you did not know that. And she is working with lots of people on individualized plans and addressing some of these barriers to physical activity. So sometimes it's just when it comes to the activity side, recognizing that there's something that we're able to do and we can figure out what's best for us. We just need to figure that out for ourselves. It's hard to do on our own sometimes. All right. So guys, I have a few references there, and as usual, I've included some links throughout my presentation for you to click on and check at the bottom of the slides. And I really appreciate it and really appreciate you guys kind of understanding a bit of the chaos that happened just a minute ago. So I'm so sorry for that. The beauty of being alone when I do these presentations. So anyway, all right, let's get into the recipe. I'm really excited to share this one with you guys. It's something that I've been doing for a while now. I will tell you a little twist that I did on the recipe that isn't suggested in the recipe that maybe you guys are going to receive. And I'm happy to share some notes and side notes later so that you guys can get that information. One thing that I did was, and I think is a nice little twist, and it actually has it in the comments when you like look at the reviews of the recipe, adding just a little bit of cumin and chili powder. So that just gives it more of that taco vibe. So when I have the sweet potatoes, I do have them kind of almost I have them pre-done here just as a time saver. So I'll show those to you in a second. But with the sweet potatoes, you want to peel them and then you want to chop them up. And I did them as fries. So that was the other thing. I like fries. If you have a mandolin or you have something where you can make these nice uniform thin slices, I suggest you go for the chips or the kind of nachos, because I think that that's really fun. But for me, I have found that it's a little tedious and I like the fries just as much, and if not maybe better. And so that's how I did them. Um, this recipe is so versatile. You can change it up. You can do whatever you want with it, but this is just the recipe I decided to follow. So I'm going to share some suggestions on modifications and ways to boost protein also. But it called for 3 sweet potatoes, which I peeled and I chopped up, like I said, into fry like, and added that cumin and that chili powder. I'll show you guys really quickly what I did. You can kind of see, make sure my pan isn't hot anymore. All right, guys, so you see they're kind of just in a little fry-like cuts. One thing that you could do, if you do not want to cut up all those sweet potatoes. It didn't take too long, but I mean, it did take about 10 minutes. So it's a little bit of a process. Everything else is super quick though. So let's keep that in mind. You know, one thing that you could do is you could take these sweet potatoes, you could prep them, you could cut them, you put them in a bowl and put them in the refrigerator. Easy, easy, easy step for when you get home. It's just, you know, put on a little bit of the seasonings, drizzle a little olive oil, pop them in the oven, 400 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on what, you know, consistency you want your fries. If you want them a little bit more crispy, that's good. If you want them a little bit more soft, then it would be less. So that's one thing you could do. You could also buy your sweet potatoes already prepped. So you could do, they don't maybe come always in sweet potato. I've seen butternut squash. All right, you could get a little crazy and try a different veggie out. That would be just as fun. They have like the little crinkle butternut squash fries. You could do little cubed pieces of your sweet potato. There's no right or wrong. You don't have to make this look an exact certain way. So do what feels good for you. All right, so that was the first thing. I just wanted you to understand what I did a little bit with those seasonings, and it ended up being a tablespoon each of cumin and a tablespoon of chili powder, and then I cut them into fries. Okay, step 1. Then what we're going to do next, this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of some shredded cheese. You could use really any type of cheese you'd like. I just used what the recipe called for, and I went ahead and used the cheddar. A cup of black beans. There was just a little bit left in the can of black beans that I had. So of course I'm going to use the whole can, add a little bit more protein, a little bit more fiber. Why not? So we've got a can of black beans, drained and rinsed. We have a 1/4 cup of some chopped green onion, a 1/4 cup of some cilantro that's been chopped. And then we have an avocado that I've just kind of sliced into little chunks. So all of those things, the green onions, the cilantro, and the avocado, we'll put on after our product is completely done as our toppings. Now that's where you can get really creative. You can do a little pico mixture. I'm using some plain Greek yogurt for sour cream. You could just use guacamole instead of the avocado chunks if you wanted to. You can add meat if you'd like. I have done that before. The kids usually like that when I add like a little bit of meat. That's where, if you wanted to, you could make a taco meat instead of putting the seasonings on the fries. You could put the meat, you could make a taco meat to put on top. You could do shredded chicken. So this is a great way to add additional protein. A fourth of this recipe, which is a nice little serving, and I'll show that to you at the end, but a fourth of this is going to be 340 calories, 15 grams of fat, just a few grams of saturated, 41 grams of carbohydrate, but 13 of those carbohydrate grams are from fiber, which is fantastic. And then 13 grams of protein, which is not bad. So we're looking at 2 servings of protein roughly. Sometimes people find having a little bit more protein helps to keep them full longer. So we'll kind of shoot between the 20 to 30 range. That's very individualized. But one other thing that I always like to point to is the fact that there's 13 grams of fiber. So we're not only just thinking about protein that's helping to keep us full. It's a balance of those things. And having that fiber with that protein is really great. So you could leave this alone and not add additional meat if you wanted to keep it plant-based. Absolutely fine. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we are gonna dress up the sweet potatoes that I have cooked for 20 minutes, okay? So I did do that first step. I chopped those sweet potatoes, added that seasoning, and then I popped it in that 400 degree oven for 20-ish minutes. I think I did a little bit more than 20. I'm going to bring, as it's cooled down, I'm going to bring my sweet potatoes over, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to dress them up. I am going to kind of lump them a little bit together so that it kind of feels a little bit more uniform and there's not a lot of holes. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to sprinkle on our beans, and then I'm going to add some cheese, and then I'm going to pop it back into the oven for 5 minutes. And that's really just to let everything heat up, kind of melt the cheese, that type of thing. And then when it comes out, it's ready, and we just add our toppings. Okay. Cheese. Okay. So I'm going to put this in the oven. Okay. So we have about 5-6 minutes there, and I'll check on them and a few just to see how everything's looking. We do have a little time if there's any questions or just anything that anyone wanted to talk through.
A couple folks were wondering about the connection to K12 and vitamin D. Does that sound familiar at all?
Maybe K2.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we do typically recommend a K2, vitamin K, specifically that K2 form, can help with the absorption of the vitamin D. So they make some good liquid drops that it depends on how much the individual is requiring, but having some vitamin D plus K2 helps with your absorption of that vitamin D. So that's a good question. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Somebody else was wondering if you had any tips for buying salmon.
Tips for buying salmon? Well, I mean, that's maybe a personal opinion. You know, I do try to look for wild caught when I can, when it's on sale. I feel like I like the flavor and the taste and the brighter the pink color, I feel like is a little bit more appealing, and nutrient wise, I feel like can be a little bit helpful. I'm also not opposed to frozen salmon. I love some frozen wild caught, and that way you can save a little bit of money. When I get frozen instead of fresh, I might notice a slight difference in the way that the freshness of it is tasting. So when I dress up my salmon, let's say I get a frozen salmon, I take it out thawed, then I dress it up like with that rosemary, walnut rosemary, all those lovely flavors, all of that really helps. So it's almost like a frozen vegetable. The more you kind of do with it, the better it's probably going to taste. So if you really want to go for like a nice cut of fresh salmon, I would look for wild caught, and I would check it out when it's on sale because that does exist. But otherwise, if you're wanting to eat it on a regular basis, I'm a big proponent of the frozen varieties.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that, Katie. One more quick one. Somebody's wondering if you've ever done this in an air fryer, this recipe.
Oh yeah, you should. I don't have
Right? I
one.
think you certainly could.
Totally. And if I did have one, I'd do it. But I don't have an air fryer. My husband says I can't get any more gadgets, you guys, because I'm taking up too much space. I actually have a like a Ninja food oven, one of those, but it does have an air fry function, but I don't think it does it. It doesn't do it as good. Not like a real air fryer. If you have an air fryer, definitely need to try this in an air fryer. Be so good. It's good otherwise too, so don't worry. But yes, definitely support the air frying. A few more minutes here. I'm gonna just take a quick peek. It's melting. It's melting, looking good. Um, But yes, I find that the more fun you get with the toppings, the more delicious and tasty it is. And I definitely don't need meat for this recipe. I will go ahead and say that. I know that I mentioned that as a way of getting more protein, but I don't find that I need it. I find that is very satisfying. Sweet potatoes are one of my absolute favorite complex carbs to eat to help me feel full. I like to use them in bowls, I mentioned on salads. Anytime I have a salad, I add some type of complex carbohydrate like that, just to help with that satiety, that fullness. So yeah, so these are really, really tasty, whether they're super duper crispy or just like a soft sweet potato. It's going to be good either way. All right, and we'll get my plate out.
Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Someone is curious just on your thoughts of cooked vegetables versus raw.
Yeah. Just their nutrient composition
Yes.
okay, yeah. So listen, we could get very, very micromanaging, kind of nitpicky with that. And there are certain vegetables that do more nutrients are brought out when they're cooked. That is for sure. However, I want people to just feel like they're not always getting stressed about stuff like that. The reality is we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables as a whole in our day. And if we're focused in on just more volume of fruits and veggies, no matter what, I think that's a win. But yes, I think that there are definitely certain things that are going to be a bit more of a nutrient pop when they are cooked versus when they are raw. So that could probably be a topic at some point in the future.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep that one in mind for 2027 since we've
Yeah.
already picked out 2026.
Ready. 12, ready to go, guys. It's crazy. I can't believe it. All right. I think I'm going to take these fries out of the oven. So let me get those out really fast. Hey, they're looking good. All right. So I am going to scoop a serving onto the plate, and then I will dress those up and let you guys see what I'm doing. All right, let me get a spoon just to help me get these off. There we go. Try not to make too much of them. Okay. A nice, decent portion too, I think. Okay. So let me show you guys. So we have about a fourth of our product right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add all those pretty toppings, and I'm sure you can guess what I'll be eating for lunch. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'll dip my screen and show you what I'm doing. All right, where should I go with this first? I think I'm going to put the avocado on first. So we have some cubed avocado. I'm just going to kind of put a little bit on the top here. And then I think I'm going to sprinkle in a bunch of this green onion, which is absolutely delightful. I love green onion. If you don't have to include it. Then we have some cilantro. And then we have our nice kind of dollop of this Greek yogurt / sour cream. And we are done. Very simple. So one thing that I would say is, as I'm looking at it, I really would love to have something red on here. So some chopped tomatoes would be really good, or that pico mixture where you could include the cilantro, a little bit of onion, a little bit of the tomato, and some even like a little jalapeno if you like a spice. So you could get really creative with this, add as much or as little. If you want to add salsa, you can. I can't remember how much I like salsa with this. I don't know. I feel like I liked it without salsa, but the tomatoes were a nice hit. I would rather have it with the avocado and the Greek yogurt and all of that for kind of that nice creamy touch to it. But to each their own, add some salsa to it. So yeah, delicious. Voila. Hopefully you guys try it out. It's very, very simple and a great one to include this time of year. And your whole family might really enjoy this. I would let everyone try it at least. That's my little side tip for kids. I'm not forceful with food. I don't force them to eat it, but I always present us with a new food, a safe food. We call it safe because it's something they're familiar with. And then we call it, and everyone has a little term, I'm sure, that they do with kids maybe, but we call it just a try it bite. So let's have it. Let's try it. We could say no thank you. Sometimes people call it a no thank you bite. And this works well for adults too. I have to encourage adults to do this method as well if we kind of get stuck in our little zone of foods we eat all the time. So I encourage you to try it. Okay. All right. Any more questions or anything else?
I will say we have one question kind of circling back to when you were talking about how hydration helps with
Yeah.
immunity. Somebody said
Okay.
a medical provider told them to drink half of their weight in water. Is
Yeah.
that like a good measure for them to go by?
Yes, that is definitely one way of just like a nice, simple, hey, this is do this. This would be really good for your body. If you're drinking about half your body weight, that's I think a nice kind of starting point. And also a little side note with any of these suggestions, one thing that I'm really big on with stuff like that, and really with anything that we're trying to work up to, is I want to know where you're starting from. So if you're being suggested to drink 80 ounces of water, and you're used to drinking 30 to 40, let's work on some strategies to help you build that up, to slowly, versus feeling like, I got to go to 100 ounces every single day and I don't even know how to do that. So good to have the understanding of what exactly we do need, and then some helpful strategies to help make that easier for you. But yes, that is a great uh, suggestion, for some baseline fluid needs, is half your body weight.
That makes sense. I think that's the last question we really have. Thank you so much, Katie.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Hard to believe that I won't see you until the new year, but I wish everyone a lovely holiday, and end of December, end of 2025. And reach out if you need anything, and I'll see you guys in January.